gonna be a banger, and I'm all here for it.
I'm right here with you, Lithy. It's going to be exciting. The first few minutes should be exciting here too. If not the first few seconds, right? We saw First Blood go down in 45 seconds, first game of the day, and we might
Oh
see
boy.
that here again. It is a point where late game champions have a bit of a power spike. Is at level 1 when they have very powerful abilities there right at the start of the game. So we might see fireworks here. We see the 5 stack from the miners down here on the bot side, where we've seen red side come out swinging basically every game so far today. Blue side not coming in kind this time, but yeah, looks like no level 1 shenanigans. And honestly,
I
in
was
my mind, Lithia makes for a better game.
It might just. I mean, there's a reason we see a 5-point defense from most teams in the world currently, but I would have loved to see some 5-man early stacked invade, especially because INTZ did not look like they were ready for an invade on the bot side of the map. No one covering Tribush, no one checking bot lane. Well, to be fair, lucky them. If they would have probably died, but for now, we'll go into simple laning. We'll have a topside start from the Poppy in the jungle, and Yampi gonna get the nice 2-man leash on his red buff to get some decent pacing in. And Ninja Miners, they suspect some shenanigans in their jungle. Late arrival to the red buff here.
For sure here. They're expecting something, but they're also trying to pull the wool over the eyes here at the INTZ side and trying to get that late start up here for Drop and Hawk. Walking in late to lane, trying to sell it as best they can, but unfortunately, they arrive in time for that lane far before Mikau and Decoy. And Dorun up topside, their Korean import top laner, arrives to lane super late. So I don't really think they sold that one too good, Lippy, but you got to appreciate the effort.
Yep, and I mean, the audience votes are in as well, and it looks like INTZ
Wow.
are favored here with 59%. So let's see if the community is correct on this one, or if it's just a bunch of fans voting for their favorite team, which is, of course, totally valid. But on the analytical side of things, I mean, we're as casters. We try to stay neutral, right? Not always possible, but we do our best. And Drop and Hawk get the level 2 spike, push out Mikau and Decoy. And for the moment, well, bot lane, good old back and forth basics, nothing really happening.
Yeah, both sides hitting level 2 here without incident, which is interesting, but especially when you look at this through the lens of this is a Nautilus versus a Leona, right? This should be a
Yeah.
knockdown, drag out, just heavyweight boxing match, but instead you're seeing a little bit more of that up top side here between Tyrant and Dorun as they go back and forth. But Tyrant having the pots, so can take a little bit more heat there, and you see him healing up. But that should be back and forth for quite a while. Keep in mind, the observers are having one heck of a time showing you action because these are quite possibly the latest game champions in the game, right? You got a Corky Cassidon lane, for goodness sake. These guys aren't going to be online for like 30 minutes. So the observers are trying to show you what the junglers are going to are doing, but
you
this is their first clear, man.
You know what happened the last time? I said this is an early game, like a low action early game, because the lanes are just so weak early on. You had a damn bloodbath, 15 kills in the first 10 minutes, and I'm all here for it if it happens again. But we have both junglers hanging around mid lane for a little bit, with Krog peeking some meters into the enemy jungle here for a moment. Did not find Iampi, of course, who went for a reset, a little bit of a shopping tour with that health crystal and the longsword. So a little bit more fighting power on the Lee Sin as he goes for a second
Ooh,
clear.
that's a great
Oh,
hook on the drop.
exactly. The dredge line goes in. Here comes the Poppy. Croc doesn't quite land the nail
Oh.
into the wall, but still the first blood comes in. But Yampi is not going to leave without getting a kill himself. Might have been a little bit overextended here as Hog follows up with a beautiful Zenith Blade. And Mikau, he has some decent damage on that Aphelios, but they can't really take it 2v3 in this situation, even though that Graviton did nail Hog in a little bit of an unfortunate position. Anyway, first blood for the Miners. Great start for their team.
Yeah, fantastic for him there. Decoy, it feels so bad, right? Because that's such a great hook on the drop, and that's such good positioning for this 2v2. But unfortunately, just unbeknownst to him, it's not a 2v2, it's a 3v2. Croc is waiting right outside vision, range right there waiting for him to go in, and he's so far up at that point there's just no saving him. But up till then, yeah, the OCE import was doing really, really well in the Nautilus. I'm looking forward to the rest of this lane because I think he can win this one out hard with this Lee Sin jungle. He just needs a little bit more support, and they can really start to get this Aphelios online. Meanwhile, mid lane, Kick has been having a grand old time with that ranged advantage, and he's going to need a couple more levels for that Q is high enough for the MR shield to really start counting in his favor before he really starts hurting Kick, and then they can start playing back and forth a little bit more. Until then, it's just kind of a ranged melee matchup, and we all know how that goes.
It's going pretty well, honestly, for Annie for the moment. Just hit level
Yeah.
6 on the Kassadin, so now he's going to be insanely difficult to gank. We have Decoy hanging around a little bit. The first support roams coming in, but not too much effect. But Kick, quite honestly, didn't punish the Kassadin as hard as I would have expected, and now it's the other way around. Annie putting on a show here in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage, that first ult of the game right there in onto Kick. And you're right, I'm right there with you. Yampy, after seeing that bot lane gank from Croc, I feel like you got to be all in on this Kassadin, and he's just not, right? And he ends up hitting 6 before Kick and is taking it to him in a big way with these trades, right? He's even ulting forward here to hit him with the E just outside turret range. That is bold. That is a mid laner who has tracking of the enemy jungler.
Absolutely. I mean, they saw the Lee Sin. You could see that Doran was immediately punishing that by shoving in the top wave earlier when that gank happened. And now they're actually pulling their bot lane towards middle, and this kind of counts towards a little bit of a herald attempt here from the miners in the next few minutes, because if you have that Jhin around, that's going to be helpful as heck. But they spotted him out with the plant, and now they need to pull back with Yampy in their jungle as well. The miners not in a good position.
No, not really. And they send Hawk up topside, trying to find out Tyrion. This is going to be 3v2.
Yep, this is a 3v2. There is Annie coming in. The Hextech ultimatum comes down. That's a deadly sin and a little bit of an overstay for the enemy red buff. Gets punished hard. The miners looking good.
Yeah, miners looking really good now that they've taken down Yampy, who was, you made the point earlier that sometimes we have bias as casters. I was worried I was overselling Yampy a little bit now, and my worries are not getting better here as the game progresses. We marketed that as a 3v2, that fight earlier. That turned into a 4v1 real quick. Yampy did not have anywhere to go as the miners maneuvered basically their entire team up topside to catch him out. That's just good macro, folks. If there's one solid carry on the enemy team and the rest of this team is all hyper scaling late game carries, you just have to kill the one guy and you've completely neutralized the enemy team. Very well done from the miners, and they have their choice of objectives going into 8 minutes here.
Yep, and just shows you the value of a well-placed ward in your top lane Tribrush as well. So Doran offering a little bit of vision that was necessary to facilitate this whole play, spot out that the Jax was moving over. Otherwise, I think the Lee Sin would have gotten away with it, but for the moment, well, we'll see how this goes on. Of course, drop in the bot lane. He's not really behind in CS, which is actually a little bit surprising, being left alone against an Aphelios, but now we're slowly but surely moving on towards the stages where everyone has their ultimates. The first Corki package is in as well. So the action is about to take form in a proper way. There's the gank over on Kick. They spot out Decoy. Beautiful root on the Deadly Flourish. Annie is hot on his heels, and Croc right behind that. But a good flash and the blast cone away. Decoy getting away with it.
Once again, Lithia, it's a top-to-bottom macro outplay here from the Netshoes miners. You see up topside, Doran crashes 3 waves of minions into the enemy topside there. Goes on this walkabout through the mid lane, just trying to provide more pressure for his team. Team doesn't even need it, by the way. They're down there 4v3, just pulling off great macro plays. But you see he's walking back up in the top lane now. He's only down like 15 CS. That's just great play from the top laner there from Doran. He can freeze that wave right outside there too. Down the bot side where you're watching the observer point the camera, it trades a little bit back and forth here as Mikau and Decoy crash this wave in and secure that CS lead that you had been talking about there, that you thought Mikau would be able to attain earlier. He's got it now. Croc smites the Rift Herald as they fight over positioning.
Yeah. Here. Needs to get a little bit of a heal in, but that Rift Herald contested by Tyrion. Very, very good moves by the Jags, and of course, Kick was there to back him up. And at that point, well, his own team not in position, so Croc had to pull out for the moment. But still, well, that objective is on the map. The Dragon untouched as well, but that's a Cloud Drake. I mean, who cares about Cloud Drakes, right? So no early soul winning condition coming in for either team, and everyone is just very content with going for lanes. More CS, more gold. Once we have our items, we can start fight, we can start killing people, and for now, we'll also just kick back and relax a little bit as Tyron does a beautiful flash out.
Yeah, great flash to get out of there. You don't want to give freebies over to Croc, not at this stage. Croc, by the way, has all the kills that have occurred on Summoner's Rift so far, and the Poppy's, he's feeling just fine. He's feeling just fine there. He's got tier 2 boots, he's got the Bomby Cinder, and he's off to the races for his team so far here. But yeah, the Cloud Drake, it's not the best, not the most powerful. I think there is a case to be made for it in these very immobile, very late game carries. You get the Jhin, the Aphelios, especially this Kassadin, I think would really like that extra movement speed. It really helps bridge the gap between the ultimates there. But yeah, it's not the best early dragon. I'm not expecting either team to really stick their neck out for that one. So we might see that one get taken at 14, 15 minutes. We'll have to see.
Yeah, Jumpy going a little bit for a peak, steal a blue buff. The last time he tried to steal a buff, that was pretty rough on him, but for the moment he's fine. Gets spotted out by a pink though, so they know what's going on. And Hawk, Croc collapsing, flash out. Yeah, once you see that curtain call, the show's over. You gotta go. And Croc is gonna turn this opportunity into maybe an early Drake, but Jumpy looking to go back in. They're not done here. They want to contest this and drop basically out of mana. It's not the best fight to take at the Jhin for the moment. Moonlight Vigil comes in. Mikau in a good position here to start off the fight, and Croc is in the middle there as well. The depth charge already connected, but Annie now joins the fight, and with the Kassadin arriving, it is not looking good for INTZ. The Drake can't get stolen by Jumpy. And instead of giving up kills, they give up the Drake and get out without dying. INTZ on damage control right now.
Hilarious to me, Lythy, that what got that dragon taken wasn't necessarily either team wanting it, but just not wanting the other team to have it. So you saw Drop open up the curtain call because he thought Yampy was on the dragon, and so they all push up so that to try to stop the dragon take. No one was taking dragon, of course, but they didn't have vision. They're afraid of it. And then, of course, Yampy wants to go back in because now he's afraid the Drop is taking the dragon because they pushed up, and they go back and forth until someone takes the dragon when neither of them really cared about it. They just didn't want the other team to have it. But funny how those arms races go there. But it is no more kills here on Summoner's Rift, but that is an objective over in the hands of the Netshoes Miners. A slim gold lead and the dragon lead now for this team as we pass 13 minutes. Looking forward to 14 minutes. Not a whole lot of plates taken off either side here, Lippy.
Yeah. I mean, thinking back to the prep meeting we had with the team before we jumped into the whole CBLOL season, I was promised a bloodbath. I was promised fights, and I got to cast some LCK the other day, and this looks different. I gotta be quite honest with you. It looks almost like we're in Korea here. Not sure if that's due to the Korean imports, but for the moment, fairly slow game, but we'll get there. We'll get there for sure. For now, as mentioned, gotta get back to lanes, gotta get some platings in, and Croc finally gets that Herald down. That's gotta give them some turret plates here just seconds before they drop. That's some free gold for both the Kassadin and the Poppy.
There you go, and might take the reset to spend that gold here too. Might just look for the fight here as well.
Yep. Croc is looking for a fight, but he finds one that he doesn't want to kick with a beautiful package to just burn down the Poppy. That's a quick kill going over to INTZ, and off that play, you can snowball things around the map, X-Men.
You really can too, with the gold on the Corki like that. It's good stuff, right? Even if he gets the assist there. Ooh,
they get the drop on drop. It's the depth charge. Flashes out right into the arms of Lee Sin. Not quite sure about that one. Maybe I should have saved it for a later fight. But either way, he is dead. INTZ pulled exactly the play I was hoping they would. And they will get a bottom tier 1 turret off of this, I'm sure.
It's a great play, right? Hawk has ultimate, can maybe delay this take a little bit here, but it won't be for very long. The plates are down. That's a super easy turret to take. Might just go for the reset here to spend a little bit of that gold, but
Yeah, all that.
yeah, it's good stuff. You like to see it. That kill did go down, I believe, to Yampy. With the kill onto Croc previously going down to Decoy. So not exactly where you want it for your scaling options, but it is going to help you in the near future to get your tank, your Nautilus there, and to help Yampy get onto that mythic item and gives you more mobility here in the early game. Keeping in mind, we're still very early on in this game, just passing 15 minutes just now. Looking forward into this mid game, no carries have really pulled out ahead, right? Everyone's pretty even across the lanes and down the bot lane there too. Here's a little fight here, and he should be able to get out.
Yeah, Annie is getting away for the moment. There's a lot of mobility on the Kassadin, but they're looking for the re-engage, and Yampi completely caught
Oh.
out. That's a Lee Sin down for the count, and they even get the follow-up on the Corki kick, almost knocked into the tower. Croc just a pixel off there with a poppy charge, but that is the strength of this jungler. You can prevent jumps and dashes, and you bring some nasty CC if you're close to a wall. So, as you mentioned, we were just talking about where the gold is on the carries, and so far, the gold is on exactly whom you want it on. It's on the Kassadin, it's on the Poppy, and you got some assists on the Corki and the Aphelios. So, fairly balanced overall.
Yeah, this really is Any finally breaking that tie and getting a kill onto a carry member there. It's just the 300 gold, but that marks the first point where a carry has really started to pull away. He takes that reset, goes back and gets tier 2 boots, the Sork shoes for himself. So a little bit of an advantage moving forward with both the mobility, but also, getting a little bit more pen down there too. Now, fortunately for Kick, he's got a little bit of a CS advantage. I believe he also got a little bit of gold there. No, it was actually Annie that got the plating gold off that Rift Herald charge. So he does have a little bit of an item advantage here.
I wanna talk to you about these Kassadin item choices, because we do see an Everfrost and not a Crown of the Shattered Queen. What do you think about that?
I think it is leaning a lot more into the carry playstyle. I think he's expecting not to have to fight as much in the early game. So if this was something more like like an assassin mid lane or something like that, you might go Crown of the Shattered Queen because you want to survive through the early game. You don't really have to do that so much with Corki because it doesn't do a ton of damage to you in the early game, right? It's more like an arms race between the two mid laners, and Netshoes miners do pick up that dragon. Okay, it was a little dicey there for a second. Yeah, I thought he was, they almost stole it away from him, but they do get that. Yeah, as it is, it's just kind of an arms race. You want to outrun the Corki in terms of how much damage you do instead of trying to get more survivability on your side.
Absolutely, but for the moment, it looks like INTZ is running around with a little bit of a better map macro, grouping up to get that first tier 1 turret, because now, slowly but surely, the items are coming in. You got the Gale Force on the Aphelios, you got the Mythics completed on almost everyone, except for the Corki, of course, because he was rushing Muramana, which is absolutely natural for this character. And from now on, you definitely will see INTZ starting to power up, but so does the team of the miners. And, well, we still have a bunch of tier 1 turrets on the blue side up and running. That's a lot of standing gold you can pick off.
It really is, and I like that you talk about the itemization there from Corki. He is behind in gold, but because he doesn't have to build that mythic item, can go for the legendary item first instead, he can afford to pick up this Hex Drinker, which has been providing him a lot of much needed survivability against the much better scaled Annie so far, who's even got a level on him at this point, which is not a good sign. This is going to be Rift Herald, the second Rift Herald going down to INTZ here. Let's see will they drop it. Meanwhile, it's Any playing the side lane game. That split push Kassadin, so dangerous. This is a deadly position for Kassadin to be in, where no one can really match him, so he just gets the free push out waves for free.
Exactly. The Jack's still not in the position to kind of counteract the whole thing. Kick using a package to get back into his own jungle. A little bit of an unfortunate timing for that one. I assume they wanted to fight a Drake with that one, but since the miners got ahead of them in that regard, it's going to waste a little bit. Of course, it's a shame, but that's what you gotta deal with for the moment. This is the point in the game really where nothing much is going on. Drake was just taken, Herald was just taken, or would be about to despawn since Baron is coming up at 20, and both teams are just hanging around their own lanes, trying to get as much gold as possible before these objectives are back up, and we head back into the objective contests, the fights. So, a little bit of the good old LoL state, and at least they're trying to answer the Kassadin in the side lanes, as you just mentioned.
For sure, you want to make sure you're not letting Cassidy push those sides out for free here. And he's maneuvered himself up into the top side, which is a much safer place for INTZ to be able to contest him. That's why you're seeing so many members up top here. They also want to drop this Rift Herald on an outer turret, and you want to make sure you're up here around this outer turret where you still have that safety to play off of. And that's gonna draw red side up there to match them. It's a difficult position, right? I mean, you're behind, and we said going into this one, Yampy has to carry you to that late game, and Yampy has been absolutely dunked on so far. This game has not had a good game. It's just been struggling to keep up. So they're having a lot of trouble trying to break in, trying to find a place to drop this Rift Herald. Might just end up going down this bot lane, which would be a real shame.
I mean, maybe you can get it through on the tier 2 turret, but it's very unlikely. I mean, you still have a few seconds left on it, half of the duration run out. But I really like the decisiveness that INTZ has at the moment. They're going in with the group team, taking down these tier 1 turrets. They are making plays. They are being preemptive on the map movements. And that is what the miners are missing currently. And slowly but surely, they're starting to fall behind in gold, even if it's just 800 at the moment.
Absolutely. And that kind of belies that a little bit more champion comfort on the side of INTZ, right? Mikau looks a lot more comfortable in this Aphelios than Drop has looked on this Jhin. I'll go ahead and say that now. And that is really speaks to Mikau from a experience standpoint, right? He's a veteran in the league and has a lot of hours on Aphelios. See, Annie up here is in on kick. That's a lot of damage.
2v1, he doesn't care. He's a Kassadin, he's just gonna straight up murder someone. Especially with that completed Seraphs, the Herald goes down in the side lane, at least takes down the tier 1. That's some more team gold going over to INTZ, but still kind of missing the place to follow up on these.
For sure, and it takes some of that safety away from
never mind, flash dredge line. There's a Nautilus that wants to fight. Mikau in the side, good position, but gets taken down with the solar flare and knocked out by the Poppy. Here's the re-engage. Beautiful burst damage on drop by Yampy. The Lee Sin taking the damage to the carries, but now it's the Annie show. I think he's okay, absolutely okay, until the Corki connects. The Moonlight Vigil hits 3 people, and Mikau is just gonna steamroll this fight from here on out. INTZ finally find a fight in their favor, and the miners are paying with blood for that one.
Fantastic engage from Decoy, finds the angle, and like you said, wants to fight, right? Decoy coming in from Os, deciding to bring some of that chaos along with him from Pentanet over there, and it is going to earn them the fight. It's going to earn them first back on the map here too. It's going to get them this dragon, and that is certainly going to give them a lot of mileage in breaking up the dragon control from the Netshoes miners. That would have been sole point for him there, that third dragon, and that's a lot of power to exert on the enemy team, right? You have to play around dragon for the rest of the game. If the enemy team has 3 dragons, you do not want to give up Ocean Soul. So this is great that INTZ, like you were saying, are making those proactive plays, making sure they're fighting before those objectives come up so that they have those angles on those objectives. Great macro play. They're going to take this bot lane turret off the back end of it too. Netshoes miners, they're just kind of grasping at straws here. They're walking in the enemy jungle, maybe looking for a Baron play at 24 minutes here.
Maybe. I mean, the gold lead is slowly but surely going up, and we just saw in this team fight that Annie, while he is strong, he certainly can't weather the storm of the team fights, especially when Lee Sin and Jax are sitting on him, because he can't really hold a candle to those bruisers at the moment. Missing a little bit of tankiness, of damage, maybe both. So the Kassadin in a decent position already, but not quite where he wants to be. And the Corki is hurting like crazy. Kick doing so much damage in that fight. And now, well, You kind of have to look at the gold. It's almost a 3k gold lead now for INTZ, and we talked about their late game scaling. We're not in the late game yet, but the scaling is definitely starting. Look
Ooh.
at Tyron, my god. He is taking the pain to Annie.
Yeah, he's got the damage, right? We were wondering if the Jax had the scaling at this stage of the game to match the cast, and looks like he does. He's shoving these lanes in, forces Annie out of that entire lane. He's going to get this second turret for free. Keep in mind, this is the second turret Terran's gotten in this lane in the last minute here, Lippy. He's going to get it.
Yep.
He's going to fight.
And here's the classic Jax 2v1. Doesn't get it at all because Duran has still a lot of damage to boot on that Camille, but still, he got a tier 2 turret. That's a lot of gold for his team, and I mean, hashtag worth in all chat. Is that one of those situations? It might just be. So, we'll see from here.
Oh, it always is for me. Whether it's worth or not, you got to go down in style. But yeah, Tyrion was on 2 items at the time. Now he's got the Phage on top of that as well. So he's coming back in with a little bit more survivability. And hopefully, I want to see him match any again. I don't want to see him go and look for the Camille. I think you have to take it to this Kassadin and keep him from scaling up at all costs because he is their hyper carry, right? He's the guy who's going to hit like 300 CS, going to hit level 16 and become unstoppable. As it stands, he's 1 level away from that goal, so might actually get it off this last push.
Absolutely. I mean, level 15, almost level 16. That's when the Kassadin becomes truly scary, when he gets that rank 3 off his ultimate. 3rd item completed now as well with the Zhonya's Hourglass. So he's going to be a menace in the team fight now that he has his defensive items. And the next one surely is going to be on the offensive side. Maybe something like a Shadow Flame, maybe a Void Staff, some Magic Pen in there. Or you go, well, bolts to the walls with Rabadon's build or something along the lines. I mean, I'm not a Kassadin player, but I'll just throw some suggestions. Well, okay, I'll stop with that. I'll not try. My English is gone for the moment. But yeah,
we'll get that
Kassadin,
rebooted.
Still scaling. Still scaling.
Yeah, he did take that Gromp and got another wave here. He has hit 16. He's the first on the map with 16. They're going to go for the fight around the bot side. No, they're going to call off on that one. Not wanting to fight under turret. They didn't have the wave either there.
I want to point out a glaring weakness of the Miners comp right here, and that is the lack of range to siege objectives.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's just drop with the siege potential, right? Everybody else is looking for disengage or hard dive with Annie and Doran there, and Hawk on the back end there too. Any kind of anti-siege basically involves them just going for the all-in and hoping for the best, with drop kind of on the background, trying to get as many autos off as he can, and just kind of waddling along behind there, as everybody else on his team has those movement abilities, those mobility spells there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting anti-siege for sure. Meanwhile, Kick has all the range in the world. Mikau has plenty of range there too. And they also have the dive on their side with Yampy Decoy and Tyron on their champions. So yeah, I think INTZ might be a draft gap here, but part of me wants this Kassadin to win.
I don't know. I'm always on the fence about Kassadins. You love to hate them kind of thingy, but
oh yeah,
it's surely going to be an interesting set of team fights, or maybe just one team fights, depends on how hard one of these teams wants to finish. But Mikau is in there with the Aphelios. I'm starting to have some decent items, but the most important thing about the next upcoming fight is that Kick currently has a package loaded up, but there is Annie going in for the dive, and my god, the curtain call picks up the kill on the back end of that. Decoy isn't just the decoy, he's a victim of the engage right now. The Camille coming in with the Hextech ultimatum, keeping them stacked. Kick needs to package out because the Miners are taking them down one by one. Maybe they can trade it a little bit back with the poke of the Corki, but for now, Red Team looks in clear favor of the map state. They are going to go on to get that 3rd Drake and snowball the game further for themselves.
It's a great engage there from the Netshoes Miners. Exactly what they're looking for. It's any in from the fog of war directly onto enemy carries. That is the fight that they need. That's the fight that they need every fight from here on out. So it's all about vision control. You saw the control words come down there right at the start of the fight, and Ennie actually ulted forward towards the wall to drop a control ward on that side of the wall to make sure that they could not see him. And as soon as that ult came back up off cooldown a couple seconds later, he was in on the wall. And that's why the Observer toggled vision for us briefly, just so we could see that Any was not able to be seen there. And he comes in over the wall. Big engage, does so much damage. Fortunately for him, there are no bad targets on the enemy side, right? It's literally just decoy that you're wasting damage on. Anybody else you're hitting is good damage for Any. So that's a great position for a Kassadin to be in. He can hit whoever he wants with his Q, and it really does a lot of good. Jeez, that was a big, yeah. Speaking of hitting whoever you want, kick just nails somebody from across the map there for like 700 damage. Yeah, that's wild. But yeah, as much as we talk about the scaling from the Kassadin, Corki's right there with them, right?
Absolutely. The Kassadin is up there. The Corki and Aphelios are, though, as well, because you saw how hard Kick is chunking out the Leona, which is supposed to be a frontliner for the miners, and that really just goes to show you how much more dangerous these fights are gonna get in the late game for the miners. There's a beautiful dredge line. They're trying to engage on the Poppy. The hammer comes out. They disengage for the moment, but Jax finds the lamp jump and gets in there with his stun. They pick off the jungler, and that is gonna be a free push towards that Baron, because there is no way the miners can contest this. But they're going for the base push a little bit. Camille still on the bot lane. Never mind, Annie just recalled. Oh, that's gonna be a free Baron. Can't say this any other way.
It certainly is, yeah. Uncontested Baron coming through for him here. They're going to try and take the jungle camps on the way out. Our Netshoes miners, they're even going to look for this mid lane turret. It looks like they're certainly going to look for this inhib turret. They're going to get it down. Yeah, there it is. Down goes the base, broken open. It's on INTZ now to trade back here, but the last several minutes have been anything to go on. I think they'll be okay. Keeping in mind, Netshoes miners, they're on Dragon Soul point, right, for that Ocean Soul. 2.5 minutes on the clock. INTZ are going to have to do as much with this Baron as they can and then rotate back onto that Dragon.
Yeah, we can also see the beautiful chat poll going on for the CBLOL mainstream. Basically, as far as I can read from the translations here in chat, thank you for that, by the way. Which champion do they think is performing better in the late game? And before was looking pretty good for the Corki, now suddenly it's evened out. So definitely an effect of the Kassadin popping off in those last fight. And there's actually the full AP Rabadon's build that Annie is going for.
Yeah, it's a pretty scary build here. Just taking a look at it, between the Everfrost, which is giving you AP actively for every legendary item you complete, as he gets further into this game and he picks up that full build, with this death cap on top of it, it's going to be massive in terms of AP numbers. He's got the Zhonya's in there too for some utility, so it's going to be pretty scary as we approach level 18 and approach 40 minutes here, where everybody on the map will have that full build.
Absolutely,
so looking for that
full
press.
Build. Yeah, they're looking to press with the Baron buff, because that's what you need to do. You need to crack the base, but of course that puts miners into the position that they are trying to go for the flank, because all they care about is engage. But still decoy. They still have some wards there on the sides, trying to prevent Croc and Hawk from creeping in there, and from here on out, it's Kick with a Corki poke, who is trying to be the star of the show.
Really is there, and you just have to land one rocket, right? And it hurts so bad that sometimes you can force a carry out of the fight just
look
with
at
the
Hawk tanking the cannon.
Oh man. Yeah, Croc's eaten a couple rockets so far, and he's a tank, right? So
yeah, that's a full tank damage, actually.
Yeah, imagine that damage going down onto Drop or onto Annie. That would be disastrous for this team. But the Dragon up in 25 seconds now, both sides going for the reset. This is so troll. If this happened in LCK, everybody would lose their job. This is crazy, man. We're 15 seconds. Nobody's in the river yet. But yeah, they're not even like looking, especially for no Netshoes miners. Wild, right? You gotta be on this Dragon. This is how you win this game. But they're going into
there's the Corki poke coming in. That's a good position for Tyron. Hawk has to flash out after landing the Zenith Blade, and Croc gets them out with the hammer. Solar Flare goes wide as well, and both teams backing off for the moment. That's just some feints and small jabs thrown at each other, but it's enough to force the miners away and make this Dragon free for INTZ. It's going to be the second Ocean, slowly but surely working towards that Ocean Soul, which is going to be theirs at basically 44 minutes. So first Elder Drake at, let's say, 50? That's a late Elder. That's a very late Elder. I don't think we'll see
Certainly
that
is.
one. But that Ocean
Yeah.
Drake is definitely going to help.
Yeah, it's going to help them out a lot. The Ocean Dragons tend to not scale as well as some of the others because you kind of, in the late game, you go from play to reset to play. So the regen doesn't really help you out quite as much there. But when you start really stacking them up, like you have 3 or 4 Ocean Dragons, the regen gets a little nuts. Especially having all 4 when you start getting in combat regen like that. That's when things start getting insane. So for the Netshoes miners, you want to get these dragons not just to get the soul, but to keep the soul away from INTZ, because you can't give it to them with all 4 being ocean dragons. It gets a little obnoxious, but it is looking like any should be approaching a next couple waves. The reset for the full build buy. He's not going to have an elixir, but he should have enough for that last item there.
Yeah. Slowly but surely working himself to full build. I gotta be quite honest, that's one of the first games in a long while that has a Cassidin and a Corki and an Aphelios that has seen this little amount of fighting. 35 minutes and it's only 14 kills overall in this game. Even the gold is completely even for the moment, and both teams are just in this mode of we can't take a fight that's in any way, shape, or form subpar for us because we'll just lose the game off the back of it. So it's just a really careful navigating of the map so far. But INTZ definitely has the longer lever in this case, at least to some extent. They're trying to find some damage on Tyron here. And for the moment, the Jax is going to get away.
Yeah, the kills are just barely double digits, which is strange for CBLOL, maybe not as strange for pro play and elsewhere. Doran doing a lot.
There's Grok, he's going in. Solar Flare hits. Macau, they want to zone out the Aphelios, but Nanny still looking for the flank kick on the backside. There is Doran going deep and already taken out. Drop finally joining in the fight, but Annie is taken down as well. Not yet, but he is so low. There's a Moonlight Vigil from the backline. Macau still on the outskirts of the fight. The Cassadine is his team is dead, and Drop can't do anything here except for kill off that Aphelios, but it's a triple kill for the Jags. It's a massive teamfight win for INTZ. And once they chase down this Cassidin, nice sidestep, they might be able to finish this one. Look at the mana return he gets off of that. That's a tough fight to pick for these two because you gotta watch out for the heal. He's gonna turn it. He's gonna be back on the Lee Sin, and he can't do it in the end. Yumpy kicks him in the face. Very rude, but that's what you gotta expect if you square off with the Lee Sin. It's the delayed ace. INTZ cracks the inhibitor and probably might take the game off of that. No, never mind. Me, Tyron is just completely content with an inhibitor.
Yeah, just gonna take the inhib. It's short back timers on some members of Netshoes miners, so maybe the more disciplined approach here. I know plenty of top laners that would have taken that opportunity to take one of those Nexus turrets and probably die for it, but a little bit more discipline here from Tyrion as he takes the teleport over here to support his team at Baron. That is a teleport down for INTZ, though. It is both teleports, actually, as Kick elected to teleport to the objective as well, despite everybody on Netshoes miners being on the death timer there. So maybe some wasted teleports coming out. Keep in mind, teleports all still up for the Netshoes miners. So for the next couple of minutes, we'll keep that in the back of our mind, see if that makes any difference for us here, if we can get a clutch play here from the miners here. But it is INTZ marching down the mid lane, looking to see if they can bait the enemy team into a fight. They're feeling strong, and they got the Baron buff.
Yeah, but you can also see the crystallization of the big issue for the miners currently, now that we're reaching this late game stage. Yes, you have a Cassidin that's pretty damn powerful in these late game teamfights, but who else? Who else is? No one is the answer, because they just lack the damage to finish off these fights, and there is the Corki damage already chunking out too and force the miners back. They don't quite get the drop on Tyron they were looking for and need to back off again, but that is quite some CDs blown. That is both the Poppy and the Leona all down for the count. So an Annie now looking for the flank. This is going to be the last fight of the game as INTZ with a freshly picked Baron buff is looking to break the base apart. get to the juicy center and get that Nexus. But here is the home guards.
Ooh.
Crawl drop. Oh my god, that's the Corki poke coming in hot. The siege still going on. Once again, the lack of range is apparent for the miners because they can't poke back, they can't re-engage. They need to find an angle as the Nexus turrets are starting to fall. Super minions pouring in from the bot lane. There's a curtain call. Maybe they can engage off of that as Drop tries to aid his team. Doran going deep. Jack's already down in the GA. This is a great opportunity for them. Annie on the side looking for the connection, but beautiful positioning by Kick. He can do so much damage from the backline, but there's so much damage coming in from Annie, and the drop comes in. It's a quadra for the Jhin. My god, what a beautiful fight from the Miners ADC. They avoid certain doom and pull this game back from the grave.
No way, Lithy. We undersold him all game. He was 3-3 the majority of this game, but right there at the end picks up the quadra kill, evens it out to 6-3-4, gets a ton of gold for his team, and look, he gets the Ocean Soul off this play.
Oh
that
God.
is the biggest fight this game. Drop has completely turned this game around for his team, but they don't have Nexus turrets. It's a very dangerous position. Here's this replay for you. It started out with the curtain call. 3 of these shots hit Tyrion. See him 1, 2, 3. That 4th shot brings him down into the Guardian Angel. He comes back up, eats a bunch of damage. Look who it is. It's still Drop. Gets 2 kills off of this Gale Force. What a Gale Force it was. Picks up the 3rd kill on Lee Sin and a 4th shot onto Decoy to even it out. And it is just Kick left to run away at the end of that fight. What a fight from Drop.
That's a dream scenario for a Jhin. You Gale Force in for the auto attack grenade, and the grenade just kills 3 people. You love to see that. Beautiful positioning by Drop, completely staying away from the poke, but also Kick on the outskirts, try to play the Corki to perfection. Wasn't quite able to pull out the fight, but in the end, the Miners are still alive. And here is Ward. But you also mentioned 2 TPs burned for a Baron earlier. They are still not up, but might be in just a second. And if they can lure out the Miners, this game is over pretty quickly. Oh, there's a movement ping. There's a movement ping on that tier ward in the base.
Yeah, let's see if they can do it. They're trying to create pressure, trying to get them up to the top side of the map to get them as far away from that ward as they can. And you're seeing Decoy. He's positioning forward, trying to get the flank to stop their backs.
We'll it's run out.
Oh, it ran out.
Oh,
that's not
no.
good. Okay. Might just be the fight over the top side in him here then. Oh boy.
I mean, it's the last inhib up, right? It's the only point left to pressure in the space. Of course, this bot lane inhib is about to respawn. We already have no more super minions on that lane. So, the big thing is going to be Drop. There's a solar flare, immediate disengage due to the stopwatch from Decoy though, but still, you gotta watch out for that Corki damage. Still, Drop is just as dangerous on the Jhin. As mentioned, only member on the Miners with the range. And Doran also have an eye on that Camille. He's been the initiator for the Miners so far, always hitting someone with that hookshot to start things off. Now he's removing Lee Sin from the base as well, but bot lane pressured as well. There's another replay of that beautiful team fight earlier.
And watch out for the grenade that Lithy had mentioned, and 3 of these shots hitting Tyrion, which was just so spectacular for this team. Taking out that front line right at the start and creating space for Hawk and for Annie to get in and get that damage down. Boom. There goes the Gale Force, and the bouncing grenade picks up the triple kill, and Decoy is just kind of standing there like, well, they got me dead to rights, don't they? And Drop says, I sure do, and picks up that kill. Here's the pause coming out for you just at the right end. I think they're probably putting some additional plating on that last inhib, trying to give him a fair shot. I can't imagine what else they'd be doing, because this game is pretty much over here.
Maybe it was the Nautilus W triggering the stopwatch by accident or something along the lines. Who knows? Who knows? We'll get through this. We'll just wait for a moment, and let's break this game back down a little bit, because we still have both teams fairly even. Yes, Miners are lacking 2 inhibitors. One has respawned, but there is a Jax currently chunking away at it. But they do have an Ocean Soul. We have Elder Dragons spawning in about 3 to 4 minutes. If they can hold on that much longer and maybe look for a fight, get the flip on the Elder Drake, there is still an angle for the Miners to win this.
There's absolutely hope for the miners here. Yeah, I think you have to win at least one fight in your own base, and then at least one more fight to try and break open the enemy base for the miners, if not more. But yes, they are certainly in the game, trying to see if they can win. It's just the INTZ are so close, right? Just that last inhib they need to take, and of course they do have like massive map control across the map there too for INTZ. So if it does come down to an Elder fight, it's going to be a rough fight, and the miners are going to have to stick their necks out to try and push for that dragon pit, and they're going to have to leave their base, which is going to be really sketchy for them because they do not have any turrets left on that nexus.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, backdoor TPs. I mean, the pings already went down from INTZ, so they're definitely keeping that one as a possibility in mind. And on the other hand, well, you gotta watch out for the Corki, you gotta watch for the Aphelios that is picking up steam rapidly now in this late game. But on the other hand, Drop showing us how deadly a Jhin can be in the late game. So we can't really talk about, yeah, these champions are scaling better into the late game. They are much better once they start getting these items, because like literally everyone is full build now, basically, except for the supports. But hey, supports don't matter anyway, right? So yeah, you're kind of at the stage. You had a late game winning condition, but you got to the super late game where everything is even again. Well, tough luck, boys. See how you pull this one out.
100%, yeah, and I think this was always where this game was going to go, is just in the hyper late game. It's just where both teams excel. That's the way the drafts broke down, and that's why I've been talking about it all day. Both these teams, any teams in CBLOL, would do really well to draft some hyper tanks and draft some early game, right? Because imagine these fights panning out if you have a hyper tank there instead of that Jax. I mean, Jax going down to 3 shots from Jin's curtain call. You know, and Orin wouldn't have died to that, right? And Maokai wouldn't have died to that. He would be able to keep creating space, keep pushing enemy carries off of his team. But now you get the Jax there instead, and he was, you know, not super strong all early game long, even like something like a Renekton would have been, right? So it's what happens when you draft such a flat late game draft, is that you create these weaknesses for yourself.
Absolutely, but I'm a little bit on the fence on the tanks at the moment. I gotta be quite honest with you, because there are a lot of angles you can punish a team for drafting a weak topside, for drafting a tank topside. You can abuse them in the early, or use that top lane to get a character through the game or through the early game that really benefits off of having a chill early lane where no one really is around to kill him. Put a Jace there, put something like a Camille there that can pick up farm, that maybe can even pick up a kill or two, and just steamroll the mid game. So that's the biggest issue I'm seeing with tanks in the top lane currently. I'm totally on board in terms of the team fighting potential. So if you can get them through the game without getting punished too hard for it, tanks definitely show their worth in the team fights later on. But there's just so much going on currently in terms of way too strong bruises. Aurelia. But yeah, I mean, it is definitely an angle to play this game. And if we're going to see some wild stuff, it's definitely here in CBLOL, quite honestly.
100%. Yeah, this is where the crazy stuff happens. This is where everyone comes to watch the fun picks and all that go down. But looks like we're going back in here in just a second or two as the pause comes to an end. Normally they start rolling the ads when the pause is about to stop. And we'll see if that holds true here. Not really sure what that ad is. Looks like it might be for a podcast or something like that they put on, but
might be.
Yeah, we'll see here in a little bit. Yeah.
Shoutouts to the CBLOL production, by the way, for having a sign language translator. That's absolutely dope.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, and I wish there was more of it in the scene. Here we go, back in the game here, pushing for this top inhib.
Yep. Now there's a fight on the bot lane. There's a Jax caught out. Drop immediately heading over there. There's the Guardian Angel on that Jax, and he is taking down the fight on the top side going on as well. Annie with the with the Nautilus ult engaged upon, but the Zhonya's is going to take him out for a moment out of that fight. Drop with the Gale Force going forward. He's looking for kick. He finds the drop on Corki. They get the carry out, and the Miners win the fight. They're even going to take that GA away from Aphelios. Drop gets another double. They save their base, and they might be saving the game for them. They could just push through mid lane, get an inhib or something along the lines.
They're going to try their best to pick up something off of this fight. That's step one for them to winning this game, right, is winning that fight in their base. And here comes the Baron. Baron spawning onto the map in just a couple seconds there. Try and rush it down here. Drop's got all the damage in the world, so he should be able to take it down. But Gampy, he's in. He's Lee Sin. This is why you draft the champion, is this moment right here.
Oh,
Liffy.
no.
He's going to try and steal it.
Oh, he's rooted. He's rooted, and there is Hawk trying to pressure him. If he gets his good stun off, this Lee Sin is out of contention for this Baron, but they are taking this slow. There's a TP from the respawn Tyrant. There's another TP to answer that from Annie. There's the Baron. Goes over to Drop. He secures that one. As he secured the fight, they are gonna nail down two. They're gonna punish INTZ once again for overextending their hand here on the Baron pit. And for the rest of the game, it's gonna be a 3v5 for INTZ, trying to hold off the onslaught that the Miners are gonna unleash on them in the minute.
Liffy, Drop was 2-3 10 minutes ago. Now here, as we cross the 45-minute mark, he's 11-3. He's full build, massive Jhin right now. He's the biggest thing on the map. He's dealing so much damage. While all other damage on the map for these late game carries is super conditional, and he's got to, face tank people. Kick's got to land the abilities. Drop just has to click on you, baby.
So you're saying he doesn't drop off in the late game? But something drops for sure, and that is the Nautilus. Quick pickup. Once again, you can see the long-range route from the Jhin coming in hot, and it looks like the Miners are actually able to pull this game back from the dead.
Way.
It is onto the Nexus turrets, but the Moonlight Vigil goes out. Mikau trying to claw this game back, kick in the middle of it, but the Nexus is going down too low. Croc and Hawk are onto it. The Poppy's gonna grab it.